Are you ready?
Good news, everyone!
I'm the surprise in your cereal box. I'm
great! Everybody else sucks!
I said, are you ready?
Yes, sir, random kid I just met.
It's Ciely.
Hooray! People are paying attention to me.
That's right! You're always blaming me! So, my reputation exceeds me.
It's time to check the link.
Oh, wait, you serious? Let me laugh even harder.
You know what? You just made the list!
It's all in football.
Sure, we talk about it all the time.
Really?
No, burn.
What is up, you ducks? We are back in a full show. We are all here together on All in Football on FTN Network, which, as a reminder, if you go to FTN, you can use code ALLIN and get 20% off. And if you're over the Athletic right now, it's 50 cents a week if you haven't subscribed to get the downloadable projection sheet. You can change everything. We're going to be talking about that today. We have to Jonathan Taylor again, but Kareem Hunt is visiting everybody and maybe somewhere now, like maybe some early hype picks. You're going to see what we did in the flex leagues, kind of see if we put our money where our mouth is. But yes, if you missed on Monday, we were not here because of the flex leagues. We won't be here on Saturday. Well, not here, but on SiriusXM if you've been listening, because they're doing stuff for the Kings Classic and the Queens Classic for Stepmom Lauren, who will be there enjoying that out at the Expo. But two quick things. Please, as a reminder, and tweet and tell your friends, because I'm still getting tweets being like, hey, I can't find the podcast. It hasn't been updated, so it's blank. Just as a reminder for you guys, two parts here. Please review and subscribe over on iTunes for this podcast, because we had to combine the two, which meant we lost everything, and people don't even know where the podcast is anymore. It is still, you can search it, but on iTunes, whether you listen on Spotify or anything, we want to try to get our reviews and our subscribes back so people can find us, because I can't right now. But the other big piece here is, if you haven't already, go at Chris Meaney and tell this boy congratulations, because we are starting to trend with the flex leagues. Meaney, that's right. I proposed last year. Meaney proposed this year. Next year, we need to find somebody else to propose, because when you go to the flex leagues, you get engaged. Congratulations, Chris Meaney.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I guess you did start a trend, so I'm really looking forward to seeing who will propose or get engaged next year at Flex League. But yeah, no, I appreciate it. It was everything worked out. It was a fantastic weekend. Like, the draft alone, like, we missed you, Lauren, of course, but when we got together, everyone getting together and, you know, meeting people for the first time or just catching up, and then doing the series show live while people were drafting, and then it capped off with a nice little moment there near the Brooklyn Bridge. So yeah, appreciate it, guys. It was a great weekend.
The best part about it was, and they're not copying it at all. It just worked out. So
that's right. Yes.
Chris and Dee wanted to go to the Friends Experience, but they were closed on Monday or Tuesday, so they had to shift it to Sunday. Last year, Nicole surprised me with the Friends Experience the morning I proposed to her. So we both ended up doing the Friends Experience the morning we were proposing, not knowing. So for anybody that's going to propose at Flex, you have to do the Friends Experience first.
Yeah.
It's like a thing now.
I will say, the Friends Experience was super cool for anybody who's a fan of the show. Like, it was very detailed. I didn't go in thinking it was going to be that intense, and it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
And thanks to everybody in the chat here. You guys are great.
Congrats, Meaney. Great ring. Great job.
The ring is stunning, y'all. I mean, as the lady here in this group, let me just tell you, that is an absolutely beautiful ring. I was showing it to my husband, and I was like, look at this. And he's like, I'm not getting you another ring. I'm like, no, not for me. It's just a beautiful, stunning ring. Well done.
Well, thanks.
Yes. Well
done.
Tip
of the visor, too.
Congratulations. Yeah. All right. So let's talk. Let's talk fantasy football, because that's what people are here for, right? Yes.
Yeah.
Also, well done if you've gone and seen Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. I know Meaney actually got that one checked off, right?
I did get that one checked off.
Yeah.
I was looking for the Turtles all weekend in New York. Couldn't find them, but
was an awesome. We were in the subway, and there were like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle advertisements on every step and every wall. I was like, this is the best thing ever. There's just it kind of felt like, hey, like they actually do live in Manhattan, maybe.
Right. Yeah. It's meant to be.
Jonathan Taylor, we have to talk him again real quickly, because I got asked this question reviewing the Flex League. So if anyone wants to go out, we'll tweet out the links. They've been tweeted out a million times. But Meaney and I were in the one quarterback. We also had a Superflex League. But I was just on last night with Colton on Colton the Wolfman, and I was picking, as Meaney knows, we picked back to back. I was 7, Meaney was 8. And I did it, which means Meaney did it. We both passed on Jonathan Taylor in the first and the second round. Jonathan Taylor did not come off until two picks behind me at 2-8 in the second round. Might have even gone low. Like Dennis Esser, good friend of ours, was even kind of like, do I really want to do this? How far are we now? Like, I'll phrase their question a little bit differently, Meaney, and then I want you, same thing, Lauren. How far does he have to fall, like, where you would actually you don't have to say each pick, but, like, are we talking third round now? Where are you comfortable taking the risk on Jonathan Taylor? Because this seems like this is going to potentially go into the season.
Yeah, this is rough. So I do want to clarify something, though. So he is nursing an ankle injury? Is that real?
Supposedly after the back, which they tried
Correct.
to do him on his workout program.
That actually
nursing a few
happen.
things at the moment. Yeah.
I know, besides his, poor bruised, sensitivities. And I don't say that to be rude. It's just, I don't know what to believe anymore. So for me, I'm more comfortable early third, late second. I won't feel great late second. So I'm going to be in the same place that Esther was. It's like, I guess I have to right now. But that is not a fun place to be. It stinks. And I wish we had a lot more clarity than we do.
Okay, well then, Meaney, before you answer, let me ask you two quick parts to this question that tie into it, Lauren. Jacobs, Mixon, and Taylor, which one would you take if you had to take one? Because you have Jacobs similar situation, Taylor, or now Mixon's, now the civil case is coming, and now they're talking about that opens the NFL to be able to possibly suspend him. So if you had to pick one of the three, you have two not with the team, one that might not be with the team. Like, where do you go if you had to take one of the three?
I think I'm going to lean Taylor on this one. I don't like it, and which stinks because those are excellent running backs. I'm going to have to lean Taylor here, but I don't like it. I do not feel comfortable about this situation.
Who's the other one? Mixon, Taylor?
Mixon.
Jacobs.
Yeah,
Mixon's weird because I was sitting with Jamie Eisenberg of CBS right next to me, and I was like, I said it to both of you guys because that's who I was sandwiched between. I was like, did you see? Because it happened Friday afternoon was the news that they're opening the civil case up with more information, and it kind of got glossed over. But the biggest part about it is that opens up the NFL that even if this doesn't start going back to court, or whatever, the NFL could suspend him now. Like the NFL could be just like, we're suspending you. So Jamie kind of pointed something out and said they probably knew this was coming when they restructured his deal, but at the same time, Meaney, of those three, and where are you comfortable with Taylor at this point?
Honestly, I think Taylor's is completely off my list. I don't think I'm going to touch him.
You just won't draft
him. I'm just going to avoid him. I when we look back at this draft and if Taylor plays 14 games, even if he just plays 14 games, we'll probably look and say, wow, like Coach Esser, he got a pretty good value here. He started Eckler and Taylor. For those that like the running backs and you love yourself some running backs, Taylor could potentially be your second back. But at this point, I just don't want to get involved. You always say, like, can you win or lose your championship in the first couple weeks? I just don't want to take a guy that is away from the team with multiple injuries. There's clearly bad blood. Now we're hearing reports that the Colts are interested in Kareem Hunt. So I would take him in the third. If he's there in the third, I would roll the dice on him in the third round. I still think at this point, you mentioned Mixon. Yeah, there's possibility of a suspension, but at least I know he's under contract.
One?
So yeah, he may be a guy that is suspended for a couple games or nothing happens there, but he is with the team. He's practicing. He's got a contract. These other guys are not with the team. It is almost the middle of August at the moment. So I just think that I have to avoid all of these guys. He's currently going RB9 in underdog best ball drafts. Like Derrick Henry, give me all these guys that are with the team ahead of him at the moment. So
he went 9 in this draft. Funny enough, I just counted it out real quick. Jacobs went earlier in that round, same round, and he went before him. And then Joe Mixon was almost at the end of the third before he came off the board. So there's another one to bring into this conversation. I'll ask you as Barkley scratches the back door, so I got to go let her out as I set you up for this question, Meaney. But Kenneth Walker III. So he is injured, and now Charbonnet was hurt, but Charbonnet's back, and Ken Walker's not. And Kenny McIntosh. I joke tweeted us like the most dangerous job in America is being a Seahawks running back, and it went viral. Like they just went nuts, and I'm like, it's the most innocuous tweets that go crazy. But
I know, right?
The fact that McIntosh, who they were excited about, is now hurt for multiple weeks. Charbonnet's back, but Walker isn't. How do you feel about Walker right now, Meaney? Because this seems to be changing by the week. And I'll be right back.
Yeah, it does. I'm really shocked, Lauren, to hear this because last week, like Jake said, last week it was Charbonnet's out indefinitely with a shoulder injury, and it's like, oh my goodness, like that's not great for him.
Define indefinite.
Cross him off. Yeah, out indefinitely.
What?
And Kenneth Walker's got the groin injury. He should be good. And then it just really flipped. Like Walker's still away week to week with rotations here. I don't know if that's like a sports hernia thing, if that turns into a sports hernia injury. And then Charbonnet is back within like a couple of days, like out indefinitely, and then he's back practicing a couple of days. When we did one of our Sirius XM shows, I think it was a couple weeks ago, we were talking about some of our busts. I was out on Kenneth Walker for multiple reasons. Like he was not running routes, not catching any passes. He struggled in short yard situations. He really struggled as a goal line back. And I just didn't want to take a running back, roughly RB 15, 16, that I felt like could be in a timeshare. I don't know. Like if I'm drafting today, I'm probably just still avoiding Kenneth Walker.
I'm in the same place as you are.
You're going to have to draft running backs at some point.
Yeah, I know. And it's just so weird.
I guess I'll just take Charbonnet.
I don't hate it. Can we clarify what Charbonnet's injury was that took him out?
Shoulder, right?
Okay, so it was his shoulder. The problem with me with the Kenneth Walker, which I just want to touch on from what you said, Meaney, I don't like the soft tissue problems. That just lingers throughout the season, and it becomes an issue. I'm very worried about Cooper Kupp for his hamstring issue. That's that soft tissue injury that tends to not really want to go away. So I'm with you. I think I might avoid Ken Walker, and I'm going to keep my focus here on Chardonnay.
I don't want to like just, yeah, I just want to go, but that's our guy, right? Popping
I know.
bottles for Chardonnay.
Popping bottles.
I don't want to lose like the big picture, like something that we've all talked about together, which I just kind of alluded to is Kenneth Walker could be in a complete timeshare. Even when we brought on Scott Angle, Jake, when we talked about, because of course he's a big Seahawks guy, we asked him a question, and what did he tell us? He's like, this is going to be most likely. Yeah, he talked up McIntosh. He said this is most likely going to be a committee where Charbonnet could be a pass catching guy in the backfield, and he could steal some goal line work. It's like, that's why I don't want to take Kenneth Walker, roughly RB 15. Why not I'm just going to take the cheaper guy. Yeah, they're both not 100% at the moment, but give me the guy that's going roughly RB 40 that could be in that timeshare. So that's still where I'm at.
I just think about wine and apples because of Charbonnet and then McIntosh. That's all I think about this backfield.
I like
Can you make wine? Can you make wine out of apples? I don't think that.
We can have a raging cider though.
Cider.
That would be pretty good. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Hard apple cider.
All right, drunks, chill out.
I did go to karaoke last night, so just.
I did have a few ciders over the weekend.
Relax over here, guys. So, all right, Kareem Hunt. Are we interested? Like, put it this way: if you're drafting before he signs, are you trying to go pick him up in what round, Lauren? Or I guess if he's out there in free. Oh no, so you're not excited.
I'm interested, but like, what is his role going to be? I think it's just going to depend on where
the Colts. The Colts are like, ooh, like I mean, if he signs with that kind of almost feels. You just rolled your eyes. It almost kind of feels like this is like they're saying like this isn't happening with Jonathan Taylor. And if Kareem Hunt's the lead of the Colts backfield, like.
I get it.
You so don't want to.
I get it. I mean, I would take a shot on him. I mean, it would have to be like a 6th round or later for me to really
Dalvin Cook or Kareem Hunt right now. Nobody has.
Oh Lord. I would go for the upside on Dalvin Cook here, but I still
really. Yeah. You too, Meaney?
Hunt RB 64 right now. I would rather Dalvin Cook. I think Hunt's washed, but I do believe that Indy would be a much better situation for him. Clearly, like the only thing
if he goes to Indy and Taylor is gone,
yes,
then it becomes a thing.
What if Cook's with the Jets in a complete timeshare with like 18 people? Actually, that's a committee. It's just. I'd actually, as of today, if we drafted tonight, if we were doing the flex leagues, boom, I would take Hunt before I took Cook off the board.
How high would he go up in your rankings if he was a member of the Colts?
Oh, the Colts. That's the thing. I'm shooting for upside here. Is he a member of the Colts, or is he a member of the Colts? Is he the lead member of the Colts and no Jonathan Taylor? That's the upside I'm shooting for here. Look, I'm not saying push him into the 6th round, but if we're talking,
he's still going to be a value, regardless.
Yes, if we're talking the AJ Dillon, Samaje Perine, 8th, 9th rounder picks, I'll take them over. Probably where I took Gibson, I probably take him right after Gibson, and that like. Over these timeshare second pieces, upside Jamal Williams, all those. That's where I would take Hunt at this point.
I do like in terms of broken tackle rate and yards after contact. It was definitely his worst season in Cleveland in quite some time. But again, if he went to Indy with all the situation, everything that's happening to Jonathan Taylor, and then Zach Moss broke his arm, and they're just like all of a sudden they're just super, super thin. There's obviously a possibility too that Taylor can come back at some point, and that would kill Hunt. But Hunt is RB64 right now. I don't think he's gonna, even if he signs with the Colts here like today or tomorrow, I don't think he's gonna creep up even in the 30s. He'll probably still, I bet, 40s. And at that point, I suppose it's worth
towards him. Are you leaning towards his being washed because of the Saints' interest, and that the Saints don't make a logical landing spot for long term, because this is almost feels like it was a 3-week Band-Aid?
Yeah, I think it's the wash thing is obviously super rude, but I just don't think he has it anymore between the tackles. I think he can be a great pass catching running back. I think he can, accumulate a lot of fantasy points that way with his get him the ball in space, but I think that the Saints only were interested in him because of Benjamin. I don't think that they gave him like a guaranteed contract. Okay. I think it was just like, okay, went down. Kareem Hunt Kamara is going to be away here for a little bit, just in case, kind of covering their bases in the first couple weeks of the season or throughout camp. But to me, hearing the contract offer from the Colts, like they're more willing to give him an opportunity, maybe a touch more guaranteed money. So that's the way that I'm looking at it, is that the Saints were just, hey, it's a healthy body for us right now in camp. I don't know.
Okay, then let me see if I can sell you on moving somebody else up. How about this one? Our boy of value and potentially ruining the backfield for somebody who everybody's excited for, seemingly, especially our friend Pat Mayo. But Damien Harris pointed to his knee and limped off the field and has been walking around gingerly. And it's an issue that Damien Harris has been dealing with injury-wise, especially in the leg, which now, by the way, next man up is Latavius Murray as of now, until maybe they bring in Kareem Hunt too. But Damien Harris misses some time. Are we going to, as a show, come around on James Cook? Is this James Cook time, Lauren, and we need to move him up the ranks to where everybody else is drafting him, like in the 5th round?
I think it would be a fair statement to move him up a little bit if Damien Harris does have a very serious injury that's going to significantly limit him. I think that's only fair. But I'm not going crazy for James Cook.
I know one. I got one.
He's going to take off.
Oh boy.
Miles Sanders or James Cook, Lauren?
Oh, this is so gross. I'm going to do Miles Sanders. I'm going to take Miles Sanders.
Oh, we got her to answer Miles Sanders.
I know. My gosh, we did it. We managed to make this happen.
I'd love seeing Adam Ronas take Miles Sanders. Of course, I had to ask him why he took Miles Sanders. He didn't say he was thinking he would have a bell cow role, like
to make you mad.
Bell cow play. Yeah, Cook may be one. Him and Javonte Williams, maybe these two. I think the two backs that are going to completely rise up draft boards from, I don't know, start of July until the end of August. Now James Cook is in the RB 29 range. He's gonna get ahead of Kamara here. He's gonna get ahead of James Conner. This is concerning because Damien Harris
take Kamara or Cook?
Nicked up. I think I would take Cook.
Really?
Yeah.
Lauren?
I'll still take Kamara.
I was gonna say I'll still take Kamara. Kamara's not Kamara of what we used to know.
Still higher ceiling, right?
Yeah, it's the ceiling play that
16th, if I remember correctly. Let's see. I was going to say 16th in points per game. I'm going to pull it up. Let's find out if Jake is correct, because I often am. But
he's wrong. But listen, doesn't mean no Taysom Hill this year messing around.
He was actually 14th. He was still 14th on a disappointing year for Kamara. He was still 14th in points per game behind. Actually, technically 13th because he was tied with Jamal Williams. Nope, I lied. He was tied with Stevenson, one behind him. My eyes are still adjusting from New York time or something. I don't know.
Your eyes are jet lagged.
He was tied with Stevenson at 12.6. Oh my God, there's so many things that are jet lagged.
He definitely has the higher ceiling of Cook, right? But I wonder what that backfield is going to look like when, Jamal Williams is there and it's those two guys.
We've seen it for years. We've seen it before with Ingram. Kamara splits.
Yeah. And no Taysom Hill, so he should get more catches this year.
Well, I mean, Taysom Hill, yes, but we're not expecting Taysom Hill to be Taysom Hill.
I don't.
Is that what it is?
I don't expect. He shouldn't touch the field at all, really.
Is that fantasy speaking or is that real life meaning?
It's both. He shouldn't touch the field at all. They got Carr there now. They don't need to mess around with Taysom Hill. Isn't Sean Payton's out of town? Just stop it.
Sean Payton's out of town.
Stop.
He's on vacay. In Denver.
So,
he's gone.
I have a question for Lauren.
Oh boy.
Lauren, do you have our draft pulled up?
I do.
Okay. So, in the third round, Meaney knows this. The third round's coming around, and I was like, ooh, am I going to be the first one to pop the bottle on quarterbacks? Am I going to do it in the middle of the third round? And I contemplated for quite a bit of doing Allen, Mahomes, or Hurts. My pick would have been Hurts. And I didn't. I was like, you know what? I'm drafting with quote-unquote experts, and like maybe I can get one of them to come back in the fourth round. I was completely wrong, which the draft started to fall and left me out of like every time I was thinking quarterback, like the Fields, Herbert. Meaney took Fields right before it got back to me. Like, it was just like all that type of stuff where it's like, maybe. And then I ended up being the last person to take a quarterback. All the way in round 12, I took Anthony Richardson. So I say that to this. Meaney took Fields right after taking Hockenson in the fourth round. So Meaney not only went quarterback early, which I was considering, but he went Fields and Hockenson. I waited. I have Richardson and Higbee all the way at the end of the draft. If you only other positions ignored for value, would you rather have dropped the cash, so to speak, on Hockenson and Fields, or would you rather have waited till the end game, looking at our roster construction, knowing the end game of what we have here?
I like both of these teams, and I'm so proud.
You have to pick one.
I'm so proud of the way that you boys drafted.
Good Lord, she's the best.
Very well
she doesn't
done.
want to pick a side. She likes them
It
both.
was so well done from both of you. I don't mind actually what you did, Meaney. I really like Justin Fields. I am very high on him. So even though we missed out on the quote big three, it is three, right? Yeah. Allen, Hurts, Mahomes. I really do think that Justin Fields has a ton of upside. He's got a very high ceiling. So, and I like what you did with everything else. You have excellent running backs with Javonte Williams and Nick Chubb. I like the Garrett Wilson, Amari Cooper. So you have a very well-rounded team, even though you did go tight end and quarterback early. So I think in this situation, I don't mind dropping that early cash on someone like Fields. That would be my limit, though. I could possibly throw Lamar Jackson in that same conversation as well. But I mean, Jake, you did great with Geno Smith and Anthony Richardson. I think you did a really good job, and that was way late in the draft. So both of these teams turned out very well, despite where you guys drafted these quarterbacks in completely different parts of the draft. So it's very difficult for me to make a decision here, but I'm going to lean with Chris Meaney here. I think I would rather shore up my quarterback position with some high upside, especially with Justin Fields'
does it
ability.
change?
So I'm going to give a slight nod to Meaney here, but I do like both of these teams. They turned out really well.
Does it change the fact that like you have to start two flexes in this league? So it's two running backs, 3 wide receivers, and 2 flex. Which, what I'm going to point out as Coda's really upset about your team is your second running back is Javonte Williams. Hopefully, your third running back, if needed, is Jerick McKinnon. And then
I like those.
So Zeke's going to say,
I'm
I didn't
after
ask
that.
you. I'm asking Meaney.
I understand. I know where you're going. I'm thin after the running back. It's tough, man.
I wasn't
you
done.
And Jamie right beside me.
Hold on.
Keep going.
So for everybody out there that's not looking at the draft board, which you can go tweet it out if you're listening on demand, by the way. So Chubb, Williams are your first 2 running backs with McKinnon / Zeke / Gainwell is next up. Your top 2 wide receivers are Wilson, Cooper, and then you have to start Pickens as your third, and then Quentin Johnston, Jonathan Mingo, Jaden Reed. That was funny. I saw a recap of one of your drafts meetings and said, "Are you playing for 2024?" I'm not kidding. It was Football Guys.
I love the
It said, "Are you playing for 2024?" So the problem is like I love Fields and Hockenson. I would love to get Fields and Hockenson, but on the flip side, again, for comparison, and then the reason I'm setting this up because my question to you, Meaney, was seeing how your team is constructed versus me drafting right next to you. Actually, heck, even EY right next to you, Eric Young, a good friend of ours. Would you go back and say, you know what, I'm going to change something in my draft because my third wide receiver is DJ Moore, my fourth is Jahan Dotson, my third running back is Kamara, Gibson, or Jamal Williams. Like Richardson is obviously probably the weakest as of right now of all the starting quarterbacks. But I shored that up with Geno Smith, and my tight end is Higbee or Okonkwo. Again, potentially the worst, especially compared to you. But that roster makeup, would you go back and do the same thing is the question.
Yeah, I think so. I think, honestly, the only thing, if I could switch, maybe I would have taken DJ Moore instead of Hockenson, and then I would have been able to get Fields after that, and that would have been a nice little stack. So I went with 3 wide receivers. Typically, I like to wait out on the tight ends. Like what you did with the tight end position, that's normally what I do. I've normally just take that value. We've been talking about those guys and Klonko and Schultz. Like we've been talking about those, even Higbee, like you said, 70 some odd catches last year. Like that's usually something that I do. And I'm always in trouble. I find I'm always in trouble at the tight end position, but now I got a guy in Hawkinson that, he was on pace for like 100 grabs, 102 catches, in Minnesota, which would have just behind Travis Kelce. So I feel like I have another wide receiver one kind of deal on that squad, but I am thin at the running back position. There's a couple things, I got sniped Damien Harris. Maybe that's a good thing. Now we talked about him off the top. But there are a couple, like I would like to have, Zeke doesn't have a team. That's my RB4. He can, wherever he goes, and he will go somewhere, he's going to get some goal line work. So it is a guy that I think I can plug in, but I could say the same thing to you, like with the flex, like, yeah, you got I love your wide receivers. I mean, Moore's your 3 and Dotson and Collins. Like you got Collins is your 5th, who could be a wide receiver 3 this year. But some of these backs you may not be playing. Like, does Alvin Kamara get in your lineup? Does Gibson get in your lineup? Are those like 2 pass catching backs that are nice options for you? But I think honestly, what Lauren was probably split on.
If we're comparing flex spots, I destroy you, just like you destroy me at quarterback and tight end.
Yeah, so maybe it evens out. But you played the room.
For everybody out there, I actually
really
moved
well.
over to the real quick for everybody. I moved over to the YouTube channel, dropped the link in the YouTube, so it should pop up. Nice. But again, if you're listening, we tweeted it out for everybody who's listening on the podcast on iTunes and stuff like that. But anyway, continue, Mean.
I was just going to say to wrap up, like the reason I like your strategy a lot as well, if you don't go for that alpha quarterback, and I call alpha, like I want 8, I want that's one of those top 8s, but you can get by with this strategy because you and I chatted on the show, and I think Lauren talked about this too. Like Anthony Richardson could be the worst passer in the NFL this year, and he could still finish as a top 12 quarterback. We've seen it before. Tim Tebow's one of those guys as well. But I thought you read the room, even though you were thinking, oh, do I go like Fields here, or do I go Joe Burrow? And Joe Burrow ended up falling to the 6th round in this draft to Eisenberg, which may be the best, one of the best picks in the draft. You played the room and you saw everybody else at the quarterback, nobody really thinking that they wanted to take a second quarterback because of the studs that they had. And you were able to wait out as long as you wanted, and you still got a guy in Geno Smith to cover maybe Richardson not starting the season. So I really do like this strategy. I think I think either or. Like if you want to be aggressive, get yourself a quarterback with a nice rushing floor, or wait it out here. You got yourself a quarterback with a nice rushing floor, and one that we know is going to start week 1 that is kind of undervalued in the community in Geno Smith.
Love Geno Smith. Yeah, it's tough. You guys both did a really good job with 2 completely different styles of drafting.
Yeah,
but yeah, I think your teams turned out very well. Yeah, you are a little thin, Meaney, when it comes to your running back position, but it was really good. I think you guys did a good job.
If Javonte goes down, I'm in trouble. I just need McKinnon to have 9 receiving touchdowns.
Yeah, which probably will, so you're fine.
Which, by the way, it's not actually, I don't know if it's YouTube's blocks links now. Does it do that? Because I was trying to drop it in the link. Try to drop it in the link. Drop the link in the link. The
actual draft here.
Link, ding,
yeah.
Ding, ding.
Maybe Fox can give it a try. We'll see. I was trying to. There we go. Yeah, there we go. Now everybody can. Thank you so much. Amazing work by everybody involved. So everybody can check it out. So continuing with this, Lauren, you just mentioned it with the Geno Smith pick.
Linkity link.
Now, granted, there was only 2 teams that took a second quarterback. One was Dennis Esser. He took Tagovailoa and Rodgers. I took Richardson and Geno. That probably won't happen in most leagues. Like a lot of average, like home leagues, will probably see a 3 or 4 or 5 backup quarterbacks go. If you take a Richardson, would you have the same strategy as I did with a Geno Smith, or even an Aaron Rodgers, or even, by the way, quarterbacks that didn't get drafted over here?
Oh man, good ones.
Yeah, Daniel Jones, Kirk Cousins, like you could go down the list. There was only 14 quarterbacks taken. So assuming, again, we go a little bit deeper, if you took Richardson, would you do like I did with Geno, or would you go the opposite way, where my argument is, say, Geno, if he repeats his top 7, I'm going for the upside if I miss on Richardson. Is like, I keep chasing top 10 quarterbacks. Would you say I'd rather take a Carr or Cousins, who I know will be like QB 13, 14, 15, something around there? Right? Okay, so you're like me. You'll double down on like going for the upside.
Absolutely. And I think what you did here, which is why I loved it so much, is that Geno Smith, yes, as Meaney alluded to, he is an undervalued quarterback, but he has ridiculous upside too. Like, so you have 2 upside quarterbacks. One of them's a little riskier because he is a rookie, but then you have that safe veteran, very safe floor with the potential for upside. I think you covered your bases here. I wouldn't do that every single time, but if you do draft someone like Anthony Richardson, I think this is the best move to make. And you're not wasting a ton of draft capital or any draft capital to take a second quarterback as your I need to make sure, pick, and then you still have a really good option. You're not going with vanilla. We don't want vanilla, everybody. Upside.
I think he's the perfect quarterback to take with Richardson. I think you
I
nailed it.
agree.
Like,
I loved it.
Him and I know you're Daniel Jones, but it's like those are the two guys for me in a single quarterback league. And I know everybody's league's different. You can be in a draft with 11 other people with one quarterback and everyone will draft a second. I don't think it's really needed. I think with Richardson, it's again, you're covering your bases, but I think Geno is that I don't know why people don't want this guy.
I don't know
but
either.
I think he is the perfect quarterback.
But please keep hating on him, everybody, because that
Yeah.
just means you can get him where Jake got him, and that's freaking awesome.
I think Cousins is interesting too, but Geno has a little bit of a sneaky rushing floor. I know there's not a lot of design runs in his game, but 300 rushing yards last year, top 10 among quarterbacks. We love his weapons on the show. Defenses improve. No running backs to hand it off to, so maybe he'll just check.
Is this what he's going to have to do? He's going to have to run more this year? Is that what you're saying? You're playing the Geno Smith upside of running more?
Hey, maybe he will. Maybe he'll tuck a run touch more.
Do you know where Geno Smith was in points per game, by the way? Because he finished 5th overall,
I think he
but
was
not
8th.
everybody played. No.
5th.
7th. That's why I threw out the 7. I even gave you a giant hint a few seconds ago. I
don't pay attention to you.
Nobody does. This is why. Which, if anybody was paying attention, we haven't even talked about the most obvious thing of my draft. Lauren, come on, there's you have to know it. I don't know. Meaney knows what it was because he was sitting right next to me. What's the most Jake thing of this draft?
I mean, besides taking Barkley in the first, which I'm very proud of both of you because you did put your money where your mouth is with Barkley and Nick Chubb. Well done, Meaney. Your Cam Akers pick.
There you go.
Well done there in the 5th. I see that. I see you.
Great fifth round. Cam Akers in the middle of 5th round.
It really was.
Look, we're doing this again like that. I just I have no leg to stand on. I can't. Well, no, I was like, I can't campaign for Cam Akers anymore. That right's been taken away from me. Even though I'm trying to say, go back and forgive the guy. What happened last year, everybody says, it's the boy who cried wolf. Not that I was, crying. You get what I'm saying. Nobody's going to listen to me trying to promote Cam Akers. So you do it potentially, Lauren, and you potentially do it, Meaney. Do you really think, by the way, running back-wise, so we knew Taylor was 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 20. 23rd running back off the board in the middle of the 5th round.
So that was one snipe. I was gonna go Cam Akers there and not Fields, and I knew you were gonna do it. I just knew, obviously, I've been hanging out with you for too long. It's like Akers. I could see the board coming, and I was thinking running back here, and it went.
I was gonna go Dobbins, but Eisenberg
Akers.
sniped me.
And those are the three. We all. I say we all, and I think Lauren is coming around a little bit on Miles, but I like those 3 running backs quite a bit when I take that hero RB strategy and attack the wide receiver position early. Those are guys that I feel like are always hanging around at this point of the draft as your RB2, and I think that's I think it's great.
Well, and the tier kind of gets blown up right there because right after them, now you have James Conner, questionable situation, David Montgomery, Javonte Williams. You could argue if things get more positive or continue to go on the positive trajectory, he'll jump into this tier. But Kamara, who I took in the next round, James Cook, Rashad White, Rashad Penny, DeAndre Swift, this was it. This was it for guys being the guy in the backfield.
Yeah, that's what I wanted to bring up too. Is the Rams depth chart here is Cam Akers and Kyron Williams. I mean, who else we got going here? It's Cam Akers, and you got him in the middle of the 5th round. That's incredible. I mean, I think out of all of the teams, you ruled the value. You got every single pick of yours is a value pick, and you got these guys just insane. I want this team. I want both of your teams.
I may have to
shock Gibson made it today.
Receiver. Yeah.
Oh, I know. Well, that's how the draft felt. I'm glad you brought that. Was my next point. And again, not to only talk about my team. We talked about your team a lot. But again, everybody out there knows I love to get a running back. And I did get my Barkley in the 1st round. Mm-hmm. I did. There was Barkley Chubb. You could not have scripted that better for getting Barkley and Chris Meaney getting Nick Chubb.
It was perfect. It's the first thing I looked at. I was like, oh, there we go.
Barkley and Chubb. We got our guys.
Yeah.
I actually would have considered Cooper Kupp if it wasn't the injury kind of question mark type there. But because of how the draft was falling after that, so Jacobs, Taylor, I was dealing with that situation in the 2nd round. Devontae Adams was still there. I guess I'm the high person to Devontae Adams. Everybody's poo-pooing him and saying oh, well, Jimmy Garoppolo might not be healthy the entire year. And even if it is, it's Jimmy Garoppolo. Whatever. I'll take him as the 9th wide receiver off the board. No problem. He was clearly on a tier of his own at that point. But when the round came back it was Joe Mixon, Damian Pierce, Ken Walker, Aaron Jones, and those were the only 4 running backs that even went in the second 2 rounds. And I was like, well, then I'll just take DK Metcalf. And then I came back around and I'm like, well, I'll go DJ Moore because like still I have him inside my top 20 and he's there in the 4th round. So even somebody like myself who would have very much been more comfortable with 2 running backs out of the first 3 rounds, the value wasn't there for me. And that's why we always preach on this show is don't get so beholden to a strategy or I'm going to take this guy at this spot, or like you have to be able to flexible. And then, see, like flow like water. Is that what you're saying? Isn't that from movie, like flow like water, or hit like rain or something like that? Isn't that some like kung fu teaching or whatever it is? Hit like hail, flow like water. I don't know. Something like that.
Hit like hail, flow like water.
I like it. Hit like hail, flow like water.
That is a thing now. I don't care. Everyone hit like hail, flow like water. That's like, oh my gosh, I love it.
I think that you and Eric have, although a shout out to Eisenberg, you guys have the best wide receivers in the draft.
You're still laughing.
I'm still laughing because they hit like hail, flow like water. I'm sorry, Meaney. I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, it's all good.
EY started Cup, AJ Brown, Keenan Allen the 3rd. Jamie was Tyreek Hill, CeeDee Lamb, and then Calvin Ridley in the 4th. Actually, I'm glad you brought that up. Those are 2 wide receivers I'm going to ask about. Keenan Allen, are we looking at the downturn of his career? And not for everybody out there. Like, it was funny. We did a mailbag over at The Athletic talking about wide receivers and such. And Keenan Allen was mentioned in there. And I even said, I put the question mark, is he at the downturn of his career? Because it was compared to other wide receivers in his tier. And I was like, it was about Cooper. It's like, I would take Cooper before Keenan Allen because I'm worried like Keenan Allen, Quentin Johnston doesn't even just start to force his way in, even if Keenan Allen stays healthy. Somebody's like, gotta love when all of a sudden Keenan Allen has one injury and is injury prone. I was like, I never said he was injury prone. Like, you're manufacturing that in your mind.
One injury too. Like, he's had more.
That
than
is
one
true,
injury.
but I think why I bring that up is I think some people are thinking that way, like thinking like all of a sudden he's been banged up or whatever. And then we have Calvin Ridley, who is actually nursing a small injury right now. Calvin Ridley, Keenan Allen, are you comfortable with those guys in the 3rd or 4th round, Meaney?
I am, but I'm probably just more comfortable if they're my 3, and you can make it happen. Clearly, like that's why I passed on Keenan. I passed on Keenan and went Cooper. I think there's slightly more upside for Amari Cooper than Keenan Allen, especially touchdown upside. And yeah, you have to start wide receiver heavy to do something like that. But I think that both of those guys are fine. I do believe that there's slightly a higher ceiling for Calvin Ridley, but he hasn't played football in quite some time. Now he's dealing with a foot injury. Keenan Allen is fine. You know, he's definitely a bigger boost in PPR formats. You know, he's still going to be one of Herbert's favorite targets, if not his favorite target. He's going to catch a lot of passes as long as he stays healthy. But I do believe that Quentin Johnson will have a pretty decent role in this offense. It may take some time, but I think that I think he's going to have a larger role than, say, Joshua Palmer did when all the guys are healthy. Like, I think there's more for him inside this offense.
Well, then let me ask you, Lauren. Mm-hmm. So, if anybody's listened to our Sirius XM show, which please do, but we're off this week because of the Expo, so Lauren will be out there doing the Queen's Classic, so we won't be on this Saturday, but we will be on the Saturday after, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern, and you can listen on demand. But there's a little clip that they like to play before we come on from some breaks, and it's you saying Calvin Ridley is going to be a top 15 wide receiver this year.
Yeah.
Top 10.
Top 10. Oh, top 10. I was trying to give you credit. Okay. Would you amend said statement to 10 to maybe to 15 or even to 20, knowing that he's nursing an injury right now?
Absolutely. I shouldn't have said it in the first place.
Oh, no. Stick to your guns. No, stick to your guns.
I'm totally kidding. Yeah. I'm totally kidding. No, I don't mind this. I would be shocked if he wasn't a little hurt after not seeing the NFL field for 2 years. I mean, I walk up a flight of stairs. I'm like, oh, my knee. Like, I was
just about to say, are you comparing this to like me from like walking around 7 miles a day in New York and now my calves are hurting?
That's why
I need to exercise more.
I'm serious. And I 100% would expect something like this to happen. So this does not bother me in the slightest. I actually don't have a problem with Keenan Allen and Calvin Ridley, which is a lot riskier. Don't hear what I'm not saying. I do believe that Calvin Ridley is a risk, but his ceiling for me is just too high for me to ignore him like I would do in other situations. But I don't have a problem with those players being my wide receiver 2. They don't even have to be my 3. I'm good with them as the wide receiver 2. So I think where they went in this draft, I think is fabulous.
Okay. Well, speaking of where they went in the draft, I have to promise a new writer over at The Athletic, Jay Felicio, friend of ours, Meaney, and like he's been watching us for like, what, 10 years, Meaney? Like, so, hey, made his way into the industry. That's how you do it. You keep
done, Jay.
Trucking
Jay's
over there.
great.
It was North Carolina. So, I promised I would do this for him because I went on SiriusXM for our show, Meaney, and railed about this pick. But it happened in both drafts, to be fair, Lauren. Bijan Robinson was the second running back in both drafts. He was the second running back in the single quarterback. He was this RB2 in the Superflex. But that's not my question. I'm going to throw out 3 names. I'm going to say which is the worst concern for you. Because I don't like just I ragged on both of them for the Bijan Robinson. Where's the upside from there? Now he has to be all-time great for this.
Yeah, you know, like the flying money emoji, like money with wings and it just flies away. That's that pick.
That's that pick. So here's how I'm going to say it, Lauren, and then I'll get Meaney's answer too. But which is worse, Bijan Robinson as the second running back off the board, or Jahmyr Gibbs in the second round before Breece Hall, Najee Harris, Joe Mixon, Travis Etienne, Ken Walker, Dameon Pierce, all the rest? Like, which is more concerning for you for the value spent?
I am so glad you brought this up, because if you didn't, I was going to bring this up on this show. It's Jahmyr Gibbs. The fact that he went in the second round is a big concern for me. Too much. It's and you guys know how much I love Jahmyr Gibbs. I won't take him in the second. That was concerning. Very concerning when I saw that. So I'm glad you brought it up. I think that there is a world where Bijan Robinson will be able to return on that investment because of, I think, the volume that he's going to have. However, it's Jahmyr Gibbs that I'm the most concerned about going in the second round.
In the chat, Jay Felicio,
I had to bring that
baby.
Get money, don't make money, baby.
I had to bring that up for our guy Jay. Yeah, it's definitely Gibbs too. Like for me, it is. I don't know. We were all over the Bijan thing, but
well, see, that's why I knew what the answer was going to be. That's why I'm trying to.
Yeah, it's definitely. And I wonder how much further he jumps up. Again, we're just speculating here, but if New England does sign a running back, don't even put that
out in the atmosphere, Chris Meaney.
I really do think that if New England
signs,
what if New England signs Zeke? Ramondre is going to fall behind him. What if Taylor continues to trend the other way? Breece Hall, the whole Jets and Delvin Cook thing. Tank Bigsby is just he's running like a tank, and I like him too, but he's just like turning heads at camp. So like ETN's falling down draft boards too, but I don't think that he should go ahead of Travis Etienne. I don't think there's any reason why he should. There's no reason, in fact, that he should go ahead of him, because we do know that Detroit is going to be a committee. That's going to be a straight up committee. Montgomery's a good back. He's a good goal line back too, and he can catch passes. And if he plays that Jamal Williams role, those Gibbs owners, RB1, love you, Joey Wright. You're going to be pulling your hair out, man. If it's a lot like DeAndre Swift, if he's marching up the field catching passes and Montgomery comes in and get the goal line work, I don't know. He's an RB2 for me.
Yeah, that one was a shocker to me, because as much as I love Jahmyr Gibbs, that's even too expensive for me.
Well, and you'll see the difference here is that Gibbs went a little bit later. Now, for pure running backs, obviously in the Superflex, he fell to the 5th round because running backs are often the victim in Superflex more than wide receivers are. Which is part of the reason, like we say, when we try Superflex, keep the flex spot, just add the Superflex, because you'll see if you only substitute flex for Superflex, majority of people are playing quarterback there as much as possible, which what that does is basically kick all those flex players to benches, which kick all those bench players, and all of a sudden waiver wire is like glorious with options every single week. So try it, but add it as a Superflex. So anyway, go back to that.
I can't believe you went ahead of Najee Harris. Like, what?
Who, Gibbs? Well, that's what I was going to just bring up. Gibbs actually went in front of ETN in both drafts.
Crazy.
And that's what I was going to say. Like, interesting. Meaning, you just mentioned ETN. Lauren, are you ETN before Gibbs as well? Because ETN does have this continuing every single day, every single week. It's Tank Bigsby looks great. He deserves the name Tank. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, he's also looking good in the passing game. And like, it's every day they're hyping up Tank. Well, at least the beat reporters are hyping up Tank Bigsby. So would you still take ETN in front of Gibbs?
Well, first of all, the reason why they're hyping up Bigsby is his name is so fun to say. It's Tank Bigsby. Come on, you can't get any better than that. It's freaking awesome.
True.
I would still. There is a world, and we've talked about this before, Jake. When you draft Aaron Jones, you have to understand what his role is when you are drafting him. Otherwise, you're going to be disappointed. I kind of see a very similar situation with Travis Etienne. He got way too much volume, and he even admitted it. So did Doug Peterson. They're like, he touched the ball way too many times. He was not involved the way that we wanted him to be involved. They're going to be changing some things around. If you know this going into it, and you know that he is going to be sharing some time with Tank Bigsby for sustainability. If he was going to do what he did in the second half of last year for the entire season, he would be gassed by like week 11. It's smart football to do this. So yes, Tank Bigsby is going to be involved. I still think that Travis Etienne is going to be just fine. I'm not worried about that timeshare like I am worried with Gibbs. So I do believe that Gibbs should be going after Travis Etienne.
Okay, so one more before we get out of here, because I do want to touch on the Superflex, but I don't want to spend too much time. If you guys comment, tweet at us, and you're like, hey, do more about the Superflex next week, we'll spend more time on it next week. But I know that's still a small portion, even though we try to say, please, 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 please. So I kind of know where Meaney's going to answer, but I'm going to ask both of you the same question. So most of these teams in the Superflex, pretty good double start. You know, you have Lamar Jackson with Geno Smith for Funston, which I love. Allen and Stafford, Fields and Daniel Jones, which I don't even mind that. Daniel Jones in fantasy is different than Daniel Jones in real life for me.
Yeah.
Deshaun Watson, Aaron Rodgers are a pair, but there's a few. So the co-winners last year, because we had to do the split belt, which thank you, Trophy Smack, again, by the way. They split the belt in half just for us because of what happened in Week 17. Ronis and Joe Pisapia split the championship. They both took a quarterback in the first round, Patrick Mahomes and Trevor Lawrence. But then they both waited forever to take their second quarterback.
Oh, it did.
Ronis ended up with Jordan Love and C.J. Stroud was to Joe. But that's potentially not... You're making that face. Hold on. This is where this is going. There's two other teams I want to pull into this conversation, Meaney. So of these four teams, there's potential concern for all of them. So one is our friend Lord Reeves, Rich Rebar. Hurts and Pickett, no third. That's his team for everybody out there. This is just, we're only talking quarterbacks in a super flex. Hurts, Pickett, no third. Joey Pisa. Mahomes, Stroud, no third. Ronis, Lawrence, Love, no third. And the other one I want to pull in here, Kirk Cousins for Jeff Ratcliffe with Anthony Richardson, who I know love the upside risk there, but Desmond Ridder as his third, which is kind of not what you might want to do if Richardson's your second, because you potentially have no third. So of those four teams, Meaney, who is the most concerning in your opinion, just looking at the quarterback situation on its own, because obviously they have value elsewhere?
Yeah, I think Jeff, I don't know. Like, I know he has a third quarterback here, usually he likes to wait it out of these quarterbacks in the super flex leagues. But I was really surprised when we were talking about this, obviously during the show, was that he just kept going wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver, wide receiver. Like, it's just like, you can't play all these guys. You just can't find a room for them in your starting lineup. So,
I said Erickson Ratcliffe, by the way. Our good friend Jeff Ratcliffe, by the way.
Yeah, Jeff and maybe Rich. Like, I like Kenny Pickett too, but I probably would have went a third. Even Joey Pisapia, I thought should have. I would probably take a third quarterback if that was. And I love those strategies. I really like what Ronis did, and that's usually what I do in drafts as well. Get myself a top 10 quarterback, find a guy that I like that could outperform his ADP. And I do believe that Jordan Love can do that more so than CJ Stroud. I think Jordan Love can be maybe a top 15 quarterback. Maybe he can, but just in case, maybe get a third, whether it's a Sam Howell, whether, I don't know, a Ritter, just like somebody like that as the third quarterback. So,
you know who got Sam Howell? Love you, Jay. There you go. There's your celebration
right?
after knocking Bijan Robinson.
And what did we say? I bet you, Jay, you're going to be starting Howell over Bryce Young at times. Maybe even all year. Who knows?
Yeah, I'm going with Ratcliffe. Yeah, I'm going with Ratcliffe on this one too. But the reason why I'm concerned, it's just so funny that this is playing off each other so well here with these two separate drafts. But what you did with Anthony Richardson and Geno Smith is what I think Jeff should have done. I don't mind the Desmond Ridder as his third. I don't mind that at all. But to take Kirk Cousins, who I think has a very limited upside potential here, as opposed to Geno Smith, I think I would have preferred Geno Smith. I get what he was trying to do, though. The Justin Jefferson, Kirk Cousins stack is something that's pretty nice. But I like the Geno Smith upside just a little bit more. So I'm surprised. I'm surprised about the Geno Smith one.
With DK. He would have stacked them.
That's true. That could have been another stack as well.
I think that's what it comes down to. I think we're kind of all saying the same thing, that like if you're going to take that risky second quarterback, don't necessarily have a risk.
Don't be vanilla, like we were talking about with your team. I like the upside of Geno Smith a little bit more than I like the upside of Kirk Cousins.
See, the Desmond Ridder, I like Desmond Ridder. Too. But I would have rather have taken a Purdy or a CJ Stroud who, I know is going to be the quarterback. My concern with Desmond Ridder, as much as I like him, I'm not guaranteeing he's the quarterback all year long. Heineke's behind him, of course, but no, there's concern. Like some of the other ones, like Mac Jones should be the quarterback, but Ryan Tannehill, is he going to be the quarterback the entire year? Kyler Murray, when's he the quarterback? And that's what I'm going with here is Jordan Love is going to be the quarterback. No, pass or fail, whatever. Their Packers are going to see if he's the future. That with Trevor Lawrence, I'm fine with. Kenny Pickett, I don't like him at all. I don't, not even for fantasy. But he's going to be the quarterback all year with Jalen Hurts, and that's my point here. Is Desmond Ridder even going to be the quarterback? Is Anthony Richardson even going to be? You're potentially spent 3 picks on quarterback and only still have 1.
Yeah, good point. Get a guy that you feel like is definitely going to have the job, right? The Tampa guys like Baker and Trask, that's not a situation where these guys can be starting every other week.
Okay. As we get out of here, make sure you are following the newly engaged Chris Meaney at Chris Meaney. Very simple. And checking him out there and celebrate him. Send him good tweets. Bombard him with all the tweets. Or posts or whatever the hell it's called these days. We're still going to call it tweets. Yeah, expressions. Give him some expressions, emoji expressions. At Stepmom Lauren, check her out in the Queen's Classic this weekend. Reminder, please, if you're still listening, still watching, and you're listening, please resubscribe and re-review on iTunes so we can get our listeners back as iTunes screwed us over and made us combine shows. And we will be back next week on Monday. Myself and Stepmom Lauren. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Dogs barking.